So this is our agenda for today. Today also we're gonna do a workshop. Like if you need help with programming assignment, we'll do in the later half of the day. Okay, we'll help you. So we're gonna solve this problem. Okay, which is this one. Okay. All right. What is the input here? So URL, right? And this kind of question, basically, um, this is fundamental text processing. You can call it also a tokenization as well. There's a complete module in Python that enable this. We call regular expression module, RE module, right? And then we are basically kind of touching it and with respect to this problem. Okay, so and then this kind of um, like processing, sometimes we require, like for example in doing analytics with websites and then text, right? Like for example, we want to know who entire web page, and you want to know all the links, and then let's say you want to know the web domains inside that web page, right? Those kind of thing, right? So so that's kind of the practical utility of this kind of a problem. Okay, but we are kind of touching base fundamentally. Okay, so um, so let's start some understanding over here. Okay, so again the input is URL, and then the output is the domain name. Do we have any restrictions? I think we do, right? I think you cannot use um, yeah, you can't use string citing and slicing other modules, right? So yeah, okay, all right. So so let's do some understanding. I'm gonna take let's say this one, this website, the the Canvas website, um, and then do some understanding over here. Okay, so URL equals this, and it's a text. Okay, all right. So we want to, so the second level domain is the domain name, right? So we want to extract this, right? This one. Okay, so how can we do that? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that's the correct idea, right? So, well, let's first discuss on, yeah, that's fine. And this, what one thing I would do is basically this, right? So, imagine we extracted this whole thing. So for now, we're going to imagine. So we're going to find out that later. Okay. So imagine we extracted that. So that means we have access to this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply, so this is my workout, right? So I'm going to simply print. Okay. And this part, and then I'm going to split based on what? Yeah, the dot, right? So split. Right, and then the delimiter is actually the dot, right? Dot. Okay, so and you can see that I got three parts, right? So this one, this one, this one, and this one, right? Okay, so now you can see that it's a list of parts, right? So which one should I access and how? Yeah, so yeah, that's what we need, right? So the, yep. Go ahead. Since it's a list, you can use the index. Yep. In structure, so it's index one. Yeah. So which index? One. Index one. All right. So well, the thing is, yes, in this case, index one returns the answer. But imagine if I have more, sublevel domains in front, it's not gonna be index one, right? So then there's a problem because if we want to use it as a general solution, it should work for all the scenarios, right? So and that's kind of underlined the importance of working out not just one example but couple of different examples, right? So I always highly recommend uh, using at least few examples that covers all the scenarios, right? But in this case we will rely on just one. But imagine, right, if you have more sublevel domains, then like for example, if we have one more to the front of CCSF, then that would be the index 2 actually. So then how you generalize it? Go from the back. Yeah, for going from the back, it's always the next element to the last one, right? And then that's always the case because we know from the protocol, right? So .com, basically the first level domain is the last always. And what are these? These are basically web folders, right? Or sub pages kind of thing, right? Like for example, right? If you want to see over here, right? See over here, right? So if I go back, right? So this is courses, right? So one of the this website is a page inside that courses, right? So in a web server, these are actually subfolders. We call them web folders. They're exactly the same way that arrange the same way what we have local folders arranged in our computer actually. Just happen to be in a web server, right? So web server's root folder, right? So that's why we see it's sub pages and things are separated by a slash, right? Backslash, right? So right, so that means basically this one, right? So the first level domain is always the first, right? So then we are guaranteed that second level domain should be the the one before the last element, negative 2, right? So basically I'm gonna write it over here. So basically we can um, take the negative 2 element, and that's going to be instructor. Okay, all right, so that's solved. So problem is solved. So pretty much the problem is 50% solved. So now we imagine this, we have access to this, we still don't. So then the problem is down to figure out how to get that part. So how do we get that part? Look at what surrounding it one more time. So split it using backslash as the delimiter, right? So let's do that, right? So I'm gonna say parts equal. So basically I'm gonna split the URL based on the this slash, right? So then parts is like this, and then basically over here if I use, and then if I print the parts, right? So print, so I'll get the parts, right? And these are like this, and you can see and then one thing we have to assume that website address coming in this form always. I think I mentioned like www.com like www form. This shouldn't be the case. I think I have to correct that. Okay, so it should basically always something like http or https. Okay, so secure or non-secure website. Okay, but if we use the slash as the delimiter, and we'll get something like this, right? Okay, and then the part we want is always going to be the second element of that list, right? Okay, so then basically what we need is, right, what we need here is take that second element, right? So print parts, and we need to access the second element and split this one like this, and then return that, and that's gonna give us the answer. Okay, all right, that's it. Okay, and then this is the solution. Okay, and unless if you want, you can actually try another URL. So I'm gonna take this one and different, maybe. So this is workout 2. Okay, so I'm gonna take let's take the this one um, the ETAP website. Right, so we get the NSF, which is the first level domain. Okay, all right, so it looks working okay generally for all the ones. So the pattern is that basically we'll take the URL, we'll split based on the slash, then we use access the second element of that, and then we split again with the dot, and then the negative 2 element going to be the answer. Okay, all right, so what's a good match for this one then? Yeah, the address problem. That's a really good match, right? Street address problem. Okay, so we're going to input the URL. All right, so so I would say split, right? So let's say get a list of parts by splitting based on the slash backslash. Oh, the other one, right? Yeah, this one. This is slash, right? Not backslash.
I always forget.
Yeah, I mean, I also get confused. I think backslash is the one opposite to the division mark, right? So this slash, I think.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's normal slash. Fast slash is fine. I
Yeah.
have to look at the keyboard to remember.
Yeah. So based on this, and then basically return I'm going to say yeah, return the last, not last, right? So
The value of the
yeah,
list index
yeah, return the negative index to index of list resulting. I mean, I'm gonna just plain English result by splitting the second element of above, right? Second of parts, list of parts, with dot as the delimiter, right? Okay. For oh, that's it. We're returning, right? Okay. All right. So let's write our code. Def. I would say extract domain name, right? Right. And it's a URL, so input. Returns the domain name of the URL. What do we call these two lines? These two lines?
Oh, the function definition.
Yeah, it's included function definition, but we usually tell a name for that, technical name kind of thing. Public interface of the function.
I did not remember that.
Okay,
I totally
so
forgot.
this is called public interface of the function, because anyone who read these two lines should be able to get the idea of what it is. All right, so um, um, so basically we can do all of this in a single line, but I'm gonna first do the parts equals URL dot split based on the slash and then return, right? I think I can actually do this. I want to access the second element, right? And then I can split it based on the dot, right? Yeah, I can actually, yeah, that's fine. So so this is parts. Now basically parts, well, that's that. I'm gonna do it over here. Second element, and then dot split again, and then with the dot, and then the -2 element, right? That's what we are returning. Okay.
It says dot split.
Oh, split. All right. Okay. So so I'm gonna write another function. So basically, you don't have to create another variable, guys, because that's we use this one only once, right? So you don't have to create a variable, you can do everything. So I recommend doing so, like let's say in an interview, right? So just replace this whole thing with this, and you don't need that. Okay, same. Okay. Because you need to store that value even for temporarily, right? So because only one place you use it, just use it. Okay. All right. So and then we're gonna test this on out. I think okay, yeah, right here. So I'm going to do this with this print. So I'm going to call our function. And yeah, so line 76 print extract. What's okay? Yeah. So yeah, it printed instructor, right? So and then we can run it again over here. So and it should print NSF. All right. So the improvement asks like also get the um, both, right, as a tuple, right? So just simply, right, we can um, so third one basically so we are now returning a tuple, so now we can actually um, so the first level domain, which is the .com one, all right, so the question says like this, right? If it is ccsf.edu, again this should be http something, right? And then we return this and this, right? Okay, so both, so as a tuple, so that means we need this one, and then the last one is the first level domain is the last element, right? So -1. So for that we're gonna actually we need now a variable, okay, equals this. So we're gonna have all of this, okay. Okay, and then the parts we're gonna return basically like this: -2 comma -1, right? Okay, so for that reason we have to actually have a variable now. Okay, so let's try this one out, and then you don't need brackets um, in Python. Just regular comma separated thing is considered a tuple. Okay, so you don't need bracket over here, but you can put the bracket as well, right? So we're gonna print this one, say, so we got this way, right? Okay, any question, guys? All right, so let's answer the questions. Write the statement you use in your code other than an assignment statement. Return statement, right? So we have several over here. Write an operator type token you used and respect to operands in your code.
The equal sign counts, correct?
This one, yeah. Um, yeah, so this one, these are the two operands. And then this is also an operator, right? So index operator, right? So what are the operands for that?
For the index operator?
Yep.
Parts.
Parts and 2, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, those are the operands. Okay. All right. I think that's all we have, right? Yeah. So write a formal and the respect to actual parameter used in your function. So this is the formal parameter, and then these are this URL is the actual parameter. Okay. All right. Write a string method you used and input this input should be actually corrected as input to this method, if any you used. What did you use? String class method. Split, right? So this is a method, and then like in functions, this is how we actually pass an input to a method as well, right? So method is basically a special name because it's belong to a either class or a module, right? So we call them a method. So in this case, well, it's a function, right? We pass our input to function as parameters. So in this case, if this is the call, and then this is the actual parameter. Okay. All right. Write a global variable with respect to your function you use and a local variable in your function. That's an important question. So let's say, what is a local variable here?
Parts.
Parts, right? And URL also become a local variable, right? That's also a local variable. Okay. So parts, and the global variable,
URL parts.
yeah. So we are calling our function here, right? So that means this guy is local, sorry, global with respect to our function, the main program. Okay. So that means parts, URL, both are global variable. If you want to go one level beyond, right? So again, remember, this is also a function, right? So with respect to our main program from the top to bottom, this also local, like these are also local. Remember, this local idea of local variable is a relative thing, right? So this is the whole main program, like this whole thing, right? So that means the most global variable we have is the name here. Okay. So you can put that as an answer as well, but all of these are also global variables because it's with respect to our function, right? Okay. All right. Any question on this one? So only two people today. All right. Okay. So let's continue our lesson, guys. So we skipped few sections, right? So I think it's the cellular networks. You guys can go home networking, right? Okay. All right. So so current mobile networks. So this is basically, this diagram shows you how they are arranged. There's not just one big antenna, like, if you take a radio station, right, or even TV station, right? So for a region, there's one big antenna, and you basically spread out, like it's basically a pattern of circle, right? So center is the antenna, and it emits the signal, right? But for cellular networks, right, there's more efficient system, which is this one. Okay. And then you can see that they are not like, this honeycomb shape, but this is how we actually write it, the draw it. These are actually circles, overlapping circles. Okay. So and you can see that the adjacent circles, adjacent cells have different frequencies. But if they are not adjacent, then you can use the same frequency, like for example, f1 here, f1 here, right? So they're same, but adjacent ones are different, f3 and f2 likewise. Okay. So what happens is, basically, so we can play this animation. So when you start moving across these cells, right, imagine you are driving through a region, right? And then the thing we have seen, right, we have seen this really regularly, right, frequently, right? So this rod kind of thing, right? The And then you have these circle ones and rods. They're both, emitters and receivers of the cellular network. And you might see that they are all around the tower, so that it's actually spread across in a circle pattern, right? So, and those are actually cellular networks, towers. Okay. So let's play this animation. It kind of shows you how it actually moves. All right. So start with this cell, and then we are moving to next one. As we move, the mobile hand, like cell phone device, switch to each frequency, right? So, so that's how. So basically, scan for that frequency, and grabs, and then there are some signal figuring out which network it is. Likewise, right? So like a handshake signal. Okay. All right. And then battery usage, right? If your phone is having to search all the time for a cell, that process is consuming power. Okay. So and then you will probably see, like, when you actually drive fast across, let's say, big city, and kind of your phone is constantly searching for a signal, and that may maybe using your draining your power, and you might feel like the device is warming up as well. Okay. And also this happen when uh, when there are barriers and a lot of buildings and metal structures, and they actually cover these signals, right? So you might feel that as well at that um, point. Okay. So and these are the protocols we have, right? So we have 1G, 2G. So G means this is a GP, GSM, right? So global system for mobile telecommunications, something like that, right? So and then so we right now we have 5G, right? So but there's one that came before this one, right? I think that we don't use it anymore for mobile cell phones. You guys remember?
LTE.
The LTE is still there, right? But there was another protocol which doesn't use the cell system, like cell kind of mechanism. But we no longer use it. I think I think around 2006, I think the entire USA switched to GSM. Before that, there was another system actually. think I think we call it CDMA system. So I think they still use it for other communication, like um, mediums. Like I think maybe like smart meters, those things, and then security devices, home security devices, right? They also connect to a different system, right? So all right, so we're gonna go to web basics. Okay, so regular website has few things. One is the text file known as HTML, okay, and that stands for hypertext markup language, right? It's not just English text, right? It's markup language. So it's a kind of a programming language, but it's a really simple one with markup. For example, different parts of the text you have a different markup, so that's how the it's recognized. And then the program called browser, and basically it can render this markup file. It can read this markup file and then create a view for us, right? So for the client, and then the rules belong to this design is called the HTTP protocol. So we call hypertext transfer protocol. Okay, so it basically that protocol governs the idea of the HTML file and then the browser. Okay, and then we also have another protocol for file transfer called FTP, file transfer protocol. Okay. Okay. So we discussed this topic. We switched to this one last Tuesday. So can actually go. I think we can now. You guys can read about setting up a website. Okay, so we're going to go to HTML basics. All right, so regular website has three things. One is HTML, the next one is cascading style sheets, CSS, and then JavaScript, right? So, and this section covers HTML basics. Okay, so and you can see that it's basically, as the name suggests, it's a bunch of like you will see markup like tags. We call them tags, and then this is one, right? And if you actually check this website, right, for this Cybook website, you might see the same pattern in there as well. So let's take a look. Okay, so we're gonna go over here, more tools and developer tools, and you will see something like this, right? See that start with doc type, and then we have the header, right? Head, and then the body, right? Like this way, right? And then at the end, the closing tag for body, and then the HTML, right? So and in between you have the rest of the content. Okay, so that's basically part of the HTML protocol. Okay, so sorry, HTTP protocol. Okay, so and then some tag types. This one H2, H1, H2, H3. So it's headers. Like, you know, if you want to make a title, like that's one you can pick. So what browser does is basically browser read this, well, read this code, right, and render. So create a view for the client or the user. Okay, so in that sense, modern web browsers are actually virtual machines. Okay, so it can any like for example, any web browser can usually read and render any web page, right? So that's the idea. Okay, so the next one is actually the CSS. So we call them cascading style sheets. So HTML takes care of the content, right? It governs the content, and some arrangement like, you know, text size, and then the heading, all those things. But um, basically we use CSS style sheets to style our content, like, you know, adding colors, you know, adding a table, right, and then changing font, right? So those things, and then those come from a style tag. You can see that the starting and then ending tags, and then the styles are written in curly brackets. Okay, so when browser see this, browser can render now the content of the style into the um, view. Okay, and you can see that this color, this style basically coloring this plain text into blue and then green. Okay, all right, so next one is JavaScript. Okay. All right, so JavaScript is pretty much the we call it the language of the web. Okay, so the idea is, um, can anyone, like, you know, mention the benefit of JavaScript? What do we achieve using JavaScript? Because, you know, JavaScript does some processing, right? So um, you know, we don't have to do that processing. We can send everything from the server, right? So what's the benefit then?
It saves some time in
Mm-hmm.
the interactions instead of
Yeah.
sending something to the server, waiting for it to come
it's a kind of, right, it's like when you serve a web page, right, there are certain tasks that you can let client side can process, right? So that way, you can save some process time from the server side. So you save compute there, right? Because sometimes, those are all commercial things. Sometimes you may even get charged for compute time as well, right? So, well, why not do the client do some computing, right? So client either, client also using a computer to view, right? Even for a mobile phone, right? It's a computer, right? So if it is not too much for the client, right, then you can let the client do some processing for you in rendering your own web page. So that's the idea of, JavaScript. It's a really, you know smart and creative idea, right? So you don't have to process everything from server side and then send it over network, right? So that include network latency, as well as the amount of data you're going to send, right? You send some data and then you send this simple script, right? And then sending a script is cheaper, right? So because you are not sending data and also entire processed in product, right? Instead you are sending few data and then like necessary data, and um, some a text file or script, right? And then basically ask the browser to run it. So browser does the rest. Okay, so that's the idea of the JavaScript. And basically the tag for that is script, and you can include it like that, or you can actually send the link to the script in your code as well. And if you see, I think you will see it in Cybook. Actually they send the code actually, right. um, if you can see, like, there are probably you will see like this one, not that one actually. These are all iframes. um, I'm still not seeing that. Maybe you don't have it. um, let's go to instructor. So like, you might see the code is coming via a link, hopefully. All right. Yeah, see that script. So you see the script tag, and then this is where this is the link to the JavaScript file. So you don't have to send the entire script in within your web page, web code, right? HTML. Instead, you can actually put the link to that, and then basically what the browser does is goes to that link, get the script, and run it. Okay, so that's how you can. This is a way, pretty common way. If your script is really long, like usually it is, right, and you don't have to embed it in your HTML, you can send it as a link as well. Okay. Okay. So what happened? Okay. So not only that, so JavaScript now is actually, so we earlier we use it only, like, client side, only a processing language for the client side. So now it's actually a full scale programming language. So basically, um, we now have JavaScript based servers as well. So we call it Node server, Node um, Node, I think Node.js is the so basically the JavaScript based file is the extension .js. So Node.js is the JavaScript based server. So now you can actually create a website, both web server, both backend and then front end all together completely from JavaScript. So earlier it was like, we use the Java or any other language base for the backend, the server side, and the client side is JavaScript, right? So modern JavaScript is capable of doing everything like a general programming language. Okay? And then that made it really popular. So the right now, the most popular language is actually JavaScript in terms of the internet and then things, right? Other things. Um, and then I think probably Python, and then the others are rest. Okay. All right. The rest. So there are some case studies, guys. You guys should read them. Okay. So I'm not gonna go over them. I think that's about it. Yep. So this we're gonna start the this module. So security and privacy and security next week. Okay. So let's take our break now. So be here around 12:05. Okay. So you're gonna watch a video on TCP and UDP. All right, guys. Let's watch our video. It's this one. So what happened? So I published it, guys. It's this one. It's in module 12. It's TCP and UDP. So basically, UDP you can think of like a radio station. It doesn't care whether you receive the signal or not, right? Just send it out, right? So certain streaming services actually use both TCP and UDP. Like I think like TV state like services like DirecTV. So they just make stream all of their channels continuously, right? So if anyone want to tune in, you can tune in and access data. Okay. So
What would he answer be? I know it's not UDP, but what would it be?
yeah. So what is it? What is it? It's actually the answer also in the video, right? What is it? Anyone?
It's not UDP. I know that much. I tried that and
Anyone?
TCP.
Yeah, TCP is the answer. That's basically required. So for example, CC as a web page, it's a regular web page, right?
Yeah.
So you need to make sure, guarantee that you you render the page correctly, or the bank should page should work properly, right? So that means TCP. All right. All right, guys. So from now on, we're gonna help you. I mean, if you need help in programming assignment, we're gonna come over and then sit down with you. Otherwise, I'm going to open the problem today. Okay. So which is this one. That's actually this one. But I'm gonna. Well, before that, let me go over the things during this module, which is module 12. The first one is this one, the graded discussion. So this one, right? So you have to imagine that you are helping a friend on I mean, you guys saw this similar one in which module? In the troubleshoot module, remember, right? So the troubleshooting one, right? So, and then it's basically, you know, this question created out of that module also in mind, the troubleshooting module. So your friend can access the website, and then you are going to help, and then there's certain way that we instruct. Step one is, you know, you're going to ask three things that he might be um, looking for, and then three questions to ask. Okay. So and then um, now after you reply, then you basically pick a classmate, and then um, ask, like, you know, in 3-4 sentences, describe these two things. Okay. All right. So that's the discussion assignment. So for the assignment for this module, it's a two-part one. So part one is actually it's a quiz actually, right? So so I have shown how in Windows how you can take address lookup. Okay, so in Windows it's NS lookup. I think it's looks like same for other. Is it same for other like Mac as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so so it looks like same for other operating system too, like Linux and then Mac.
Definitely Mac. I don't know about Linux.
Linux, if it is Mac, then it should be the same for Linux as well. They are same actually. So unless your Mac has Windows, and some Macs runs Windows, right? So um, so you run this command, like basically ns lookup, and then the the website, and in the end, this one, guys, this is your address, and then this will be your the address that you are looking for on the website. Okay, and then what you have to do is you have to match each one with this list. Okay, and let me know if it's not matching, because you know this is not that reliable. Some time to time they change. You know, some of these, like, you know, when I open this assignment, I double check, and three of them change their website, web server, pretty much. That means they may have moved to a, I know, different web server, right? So that can happen, right? So let me know if it doesn't work. But I recently checked all of these, and then I corrected the web addresses there, so it should be working. But in the meantime, they may be changing as well, right? So that's the one that you submit that, and it takes gives 5 points. The next one is a short essay kind of thing. So you are going to teach a fourth grader how well internet works. Okay, so so the things that you want. I think this is on this one. Yeah. Okay. So remember, it's a fourth grader, right? So cannot have big technical terms, right? And then yet you will have to explain these things in between 150 and 300 words. Okay. So feel free to get creative, like, you know, take metaphors, and then examples like this, and then create a explanation. Okay, and then the file can be a any document file like this. Okay, so it's actually 5 points. So that's your assignment for this module. Okay, all right. So with that, let me open. So we're gonna actually. So this is the problem we're gonna solve today. I'm going to explain that, and I'll leave it open. So I just published it. It's in module, I think it's in module 12. It's in module 12, yeah. So what's a pangram? So it's basically, if you take an alphabet and a phrase that contains all the um, alphabet set, right? That's a pangram. And this one, this very famous one, right? I think Microsoft used very early in Windows. This one, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. It has all English letters, all 26 letters, right? So, um, given a phrase, your function should figure out whether it's a pangram or not. So, this is an interesting interview question. Okay. So, how do we do it? Okay. So, um, yeah. So, um, think about using, like, it's a string processing, like, but where to find the alphabet, and then you can create a string, like for example you can type all 26 letters in a string, right? You can use that. But there are if you look in the Python documentation, in the string class, there's a string module, and you can use a module constant instead. Okay. So, and then basically your function whether it should return if it's a true or false based on if it is a pangram, it's true, otherwise false. Okay. All right. So that's the problem today. But let us know if you need help, and we can sit down with you and help your programming assignment. Okay. So were you able to solve
No,
the code sequence? Still not?
no.
Did you find any help? No.
I looked right here to see like with everything like what would I do the right thing
Mm-hmm.
to like help me with the stuff. It doesn't seem to help either.
What is it? Uh,
Like basically it tells me what codes I would use, but when I
okay.
hit code check submit, it's like actual fail.
Okay.
This is sort of
Could
me
any of
where
you
it's-
guys help him?
I need help guiding me through because essentially that's the only things I've been having issues
Did
with.
you follow the instruction I sent? I went over your code,
Yeah,
and
same thing.
still not, you were not
No,
able to.
no. It's
Okay.
literally the same thing like I've been
Okay.
looking at.
Okay, Bridget is going to help you. Okay.
I guess I understand.
How about you? You're fine, right, in coding?
Alright, so
Okay.
I need help because I'm trying to be doing good at my but other than that, like where would I put
You're good, right? Okay. Okay.
push
But how about programming assignments? You're fine with them. Okay. And Sean, you're good, right? Okay. Did you have any problem with the Scilab? This module 10, module 11?
which one was it? I don't think
No,
so.
you are fine, right? Because
I mean,
yeah,
I feel like I would have told you if I had.
yeah. I think I found the issue. Not, it's not an issue. It's a bug if you actually access. Can you open the? I can actually show. It's a good learning point for you to this function part two Scilab. I mean, I probably should tell them. You know, if you have a list, you can access. You can loop over the list in two ways, right? One is item by item. The other one is index by index, right? So you already
Oh.
have this, right?
I think I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah.
I wrote it and then I was like, well, it works.
Mhm.
So then I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here you are actually converting it, right?
Mhm.
So this is index by index, right?
Mhm.
So is there a number in distant work?
I
Okay.
did it in a. I could have used a range. I did it in
For-
the most confusing way possible.
Okay. So oh, okay. Dot. Oh, use dot index. Okay,
Yes.
clever. Okay, but if you the one that I encountered with the student in the previous class was that this is the number, right? It's in string form, right? So you can, I mean, it makes sense to take that number and make it just float.
Yeah, well, that's what I did.
right?
Well, that's what this line
So
does. Yeah.
yeah, so this part, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what I mean, we can just try now, and then instead of this, you can actually comment this out. Yeah. Um, Basically, control this one. Yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's a shortcut. Okay.
Cool.
Many IDs support that actually. So let's. Did we copy that? Okay. So let me see. Paste. Oh no. Okay.
Oh,
So
that was
let's copy this unconfirm this again. Yeah. Copy. Now comment. And let's paste. Oh. Let's see. Adjust the. Adjust the. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Oh no.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry.
All right. So let's make it just this guy number.
Yeah.
So number equals. So you use index, which is yeah. Yeah, I think it's the indentation. Yeah, it's font space. Yeah, okay. And this side also number. Okay. All right. Okay. So, right. And then this makes sense, right? So you access each one and then you basically reassign to float the same. So in theory, this should work.
Mhm.
Okay. So, but take a look and then if you run this one, all right. So it didn't work, right? It's a type error. So it's, if you read carefully, unsupported operand type for slash means division. Okay. So basically, it's saying that that the float value this we convert it's actually a string,
Mhm.
and we actually I mean we took like 30 minutes. I couldn't figure out what's actually happening.
Mhm.
So when we print out each value and type, even though we converted it over here, right, in your code to float, that conversion didn't go inside, right? So I mean, if you so this
Oh,
basically
because
we are
you're
accessing
just
each number and then
but you're not
converting, right,
yeah, you're changing each number, but you're not actually changing the number
in the
inside
list.
of the list.
Yeah. So
That's I
basically, this is because this is for loop variable. That's it, right?
that's
It's
why
a
I did
separate.
this.
Yeah.
Because
So
I did this at first.
okay, and then
And then I
didn't
was like,
work,
well,
right?
it's not working.
Yeah.
So then I was like,
So
well, if that doesn't work, I'm going to do it in
yeah,
a way
and
that
then
I know it
yeah,
has to work.
yeah.
So
So
I
this is
went
clever
to
actually.
yeah,
Okay.
I went to
So
every individual index
yes.
where that
Yeah.
occurrence would happen,
Yeah.
and I was
So
like, it has to work now, and then
yeah,
it did.
I mean, logically this should work, right? That's what
Yeah.
the beginners run thing, right? But basically, what happened was it's actually just a for loop variable. It's different. We are not accessing actual element in there. We are reading it to this one and then changing. So it's actually happened line by line here, but it's not happening into the list, right?
It's
So it didn't work.
accessing
Yeah.
a variable
Yeah.
that's equivalent to the
Yeah.
variable at the index,
Yeah.
not the variable.
Yeah. So so but this if you access this through a range based for loop, it's just
You go
index
to
I
the
over
index,
here, right?
yeah.
So I would say that is the most efficient,
Yeah.
because this is a function call, right?
I
Function
wrote
calls
all of
are
this, and then
yeah,
I was like,
but this
wait,
is fine, totally fine.
yeah. I wrote all of that, and then I was like, wait, I could just use a range.
Yeah.
Because that was the same
Yeah, I
class
mean
that we
then
did.
the index, right?
Yeah.
The number goes into the index, yeah. But that is sort of you can now uncomment and resubmit again.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah, this
Alright.
was the same class that we talked about. What was the what's it called? The team discussion post that we had from last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It was looping through. What was it?
Oh, I forgot which one. That was. Oh, reversing a list.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
reversing
Yeah,
the
yeah.
list one. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I resubmitted or I edited my submission
Oh, okay, okay.
because I was telling you in class last Thursday. I was like, I know you can do it with a for loop, but then I just didn't want to think about it.
Yeah.
I resubmitted it or I edited it because I
Mhm.
realized it's super easy with the for
Mm.
loop.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always forget about range.
yeah.
Um, it ended up like saving like
Mm.
half of the submission,
Okay,
or
okay.
like it took out a ton of lines.
Mm.
And I think that it's the most efficient one.
Okay.
Don't imagine.
What was that?
I don't know, but this is what I'm going to.
Mm.
I think. Oh no, that's just the flute. But I think. Oh, I could have done. I could have made it one line shorter and instead done that.
Oh, okay.
But like the idea is still.
Okay, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
it,
I still need to post this actually. Yeah. You know, the easiest way though is the reverse slice.
yeah.
You know, colon, colon, -1. So that's it. You return that. And it's actually return a new list. So it's slicing return a new list.
Oh,
All,
nice.
yeah. So you don't have to worry about overriding or changing.
Yeah, that
So,
was my second function.
oh,
I-
okay,
I
okay.
just looped through, made a copy, and did the exact same thing, and then returned the copy. But yeah, no, not hard. It just for loops are weird, or they're not weird. It's just they're different from Java,
Yeah.
and I'm so used to like Java and C++.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm so used to how they do it in Java and C++. But
Yeah.
they're like it's really straight. It's surprisingly straightforward.
Yeah.
It works in a way that I wouldn't think
Yeah.
would work. But thanks for the help.
All right. All right. You're welcome.